So Susan J. Atkinson will be our first reader tonight. She's an award-winning teacher and poet, and she taught one of the daughters of one of the people here in the audience who praised her no end as the best poetry and English language teacher they had. She's born and raised in northern Staffordshire, England, and makes her home here in Ottawa, thankfully. After 15 years of being an elementary school teacher, she has come full circle and returned part-time to the film industry, working alongside her filmmaker husband. But most recently, she was named honorable mention to the New Quarterly's 2023 Nick Blatchford Occasional Verse Contest and has been longlisted for Exile Edition's 2023 Ruth and David Lamp Poetry Awards. So writing fantastic stuff, and I'm sure you're going to be amazed. Thanks.
Kiss me again, like the second time. I ask you to tell me what you remember about our first kiss. I tell you it's for a poem. Be poetic, I say, but no cliches. Don't mention fireworks or waves crashing on sandy beaches. No talk of moths trapped by late night light or choirs of angels singing. You begin with the foot race stare down the middle of a snow-lit street. You remind me of stopping at the intersection to measure our height, our bodies seamlessly threaded into one another's, how we lingered in the damp cold of December, reluctant to say goodbye, reluctant to break the magic. I remind you, no cliches, adding my memory of how it felt, the small of my back pressed against the driver's door of your burgundy Altima, which we traded a year later when we blended our families. You remind me of your left hand holding the back of my head, smoothing my hair from the whip of wind, your right light on my hip, your lips gentle against mine, like rose petals bursting in air. I let the cliches slip into the quietness, hold the rest against my heart. All these years later, having never known before today that you also think of our second kiss with the fondness of a first. I ask you, kiss me again like the second time. The first was for dramatic effect. Thank you, Stephen, wherever you are. It's really weird. It's like these, you can't see anyone, so it's great. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and good evening, everyone. I'm kind of hoping that you're all sitting there thinking about your first kiss or your second or third, or maybe even your most recent. And anyway, I hope it was a good one. So Kiss Me Again like the second time is from my collection, All Things Small, which I'll primarily be reading from tonight. I've chosen poems that are about love just because of the unsettling times we're in. I do feel like it's nice to be reminded that we are surrounded by love and connection, and that's what we're probably all feeling tonight. So that's what I'm going to read from. All Things Small was published in spring 2024 by Silverbow Publishing. Thank you so much to Candice James for believing in my work and for publishing the book. It's in 5 sections: love, sorrow, memory, divorce, and all those small things that happen in between that make up our lives. The next poem I'm going to read is from that first section, Love. Geraniums. The small petals crouched behind the green curtain of summer cedar are past their best. Their edges are crimped and browned, like the fringes of burned paper, a descent into death accelerated by battering rains, their remnants leaving a scent of sweet tobacco rising from velvet puffy leaves. Scent and memory, honeymoon in Paris, where window boxes on every balcony overflowed with vermilion crowns toppling ablaze on skinny stems. And you and I, wrapped in the scorch of a midday siesta, in a tiny hotel room 3 floors up, on a spiraling stairwell, the heat suffocating, air drenched with the thick breath of geraniums. The following poems are from the next 2 sections in the book, Sorrow and Memory. And I know that it's probably hard to think about love with memory loss and grief, but of course, without great sorrow, without great love, there is no great sorrow. Counting swans. On a trip to Toronto, my child becomes obsessed with counting swans. Everywhere we walk along the harbour front, she counts them. I tell her that they find a mate and fall in love. She wants to know if that is true. Then why is there an odd number? I can only think of one explanation, but it's sad and reminds me of a funeral years before. My friend was the first to pass in his family of 12. His mother and father led the processional, the father wheeling the mother in her chair. Their children followed in pairs, the youngest without his partner. Today, it is spring, and I do not want to talk about death. Count them again, I say. Half moonfall. There is no cure, but we can trick ourselves on a warm mid-April Saturday afternoon that the doorbell's ring will bring a tall man in a black overcoat carrying a bag of miracles ready for sale. Or if not a tall man, we can believe it is a beautiful woman in a long cape with a pretty hood, selling combs to dress your thinning hair and a basket of scarlet apples, one bite to put you into a deep sleep free from pain. But it's not a tall man in a black overcoat or a beautiful woman in a long cape. It is the young children next door looking for permission to rescue their ball, which has bounced onto your front lawn. We sit in the living room surrounded by pockets of quiet as you rest on your right side, shoulder pressing into thin cotton sheets, white daisies squashed beneath your weight, dust pinned in sunlight. Bent bones of dying orchids hang from the windows, tired and grey. They thirst for a simple drop of water. You are too sick to care for them now, but it is still your house, and we do not wish to overstep. You spend your days counting full moons, always looking forward, a silent wish for more time, another birthday, another trip to the cottage. One more morning to watch hummingbirds drink from the feeder you'd built years earlier. We promise in a month that we will be there, sweeping floorboards, freeing them of dead ladybirds and mice droppings. But for now, we must make our way home. And by night, we find ourselves pulled by a low crescent. When we stop for a break, our daughter collects pine cones from the side of the road, childhood treasures to ease her fears. We are careful not to speak in the car, tucking grief into small, dark spaces, along with hope that you will see this new moon ripen. The clock she drew. My father reads an article on cognitive ability in a health magazine about Alzheimer's. Following the doctor's program, he gives my mother nothing but protein and coconut oil at every meal. My father, having tried many cures, prays this could be it. Before he starts this unusual diet, he tests my mother by having her draw a clock face. She cradles the pencil tentatively, as if unsure of what it does, her lack of pressure leaving only light marks on the paper. Her clock is not really a clock at all. Scratches like bird prints in sand line the middle of the page. There is no circle. There are no hands. My father thinks this is a good place to start. 2 months later, he tests her again. My mother looks thin, having lost weight, but the clock face remains the same. My mother looks for my father in the garden. My mother looks for my father in the garden, finds herself swamped by Queen Anne's lace, and can't remember what she's doing. She's naked. Sun's heat, a serpent's tongue, uncoiling along every inch of skin, waltzing swallows, stencil shadows across her bare chest. She murmurs with the birds, grief lies in her bones. She spends hours hugging trees, scraping the insides of her curved arms, scarlet lines scratched on skin, his name bitten into the ribs of her tongue. So the poems in the section about memory loss and Alzheimer's are dedicated to my parents, who I do honestly believe had one of the greatest love affairs. My mom had early onset of dementia, but her care team speculated that she lived such a long and happy life because of the care, patience, and love that my father had given to her. So there's still a happiness there too. So despite the next section of the book being titled Divorce, there must have been some love there at some point, right? I think we'll all agree that at some point. But actually, to be honest with you, the next poem I'm going to read is not in the collection. Like if I had written it a couple of years ago, I would have included it. But it's a new poem, and it's in the Peter F. Yacht Club Versefest 2025 edition, which is here tonight. And it seems like a very good time to thank Rob. I mean, not just for all of the work he's done organising the festival, but for everything that he does for our poetry community. Like, honestly, Rob, wherever you are really quite an incredible. So thank you. And it's funny because I thought about thanking you then, and then I'm going to read this poem, and the first line it says, "Do you remember?" But it's not about Rob. Anyway, on Koh Samui. Do you remember that day? It was the second time we'd eaten mushrooms, the two of us alone on a Thai island, back when it was almost deserted, and the sand was salt-worn white. It was a bad trip. I carried my Minolta X700 and a bag of coloured filters that would deepen the sky through 50 shades of blue. Prussian blue was my favourite, the way it bled around the trees that stretched fingers in praise to plant kisses along the palm of the sky, which in itself was an upturned cup, pouring every last drop of blue into the sea below, which in turn was a perfect blue in the photographs that we developed months later. But it wasn't really the blue that I remember. It was the propulsion from the mushrooms to chase up and down the beach, competing with one another, taking shot after shot, rewinding the exposed film, loading a new roll, and the feverish need to catch the perfect photograph of the perfect blue on perfect blue, and how it mattered so goddamn much. The next poem is from the final section of the book, All Things Small, and pretty much sums up one of the things that I quite enjoy doing. On a spring afternoon, I write poems with my class of 4-year-olds. A little boy who holds his pencil like a weapon and cannot scribe his own name tells me spring is like orange circles, lots of orange circles that smell like pockets and never stop. And my little shy girl whispers that the trees grow gold and sing, wish, wish, wish. The next poem I'm going to read actually has nothing to do with love. It's not in the book, but I love that it's in my brand new chapbook. Yay! So, which is hot off the press. And not only do I love that it's the first poem in this book, I love that it's been published by the incredible, incomparable Jim Johnstone as an Aunt Strother Press chapbook. So I'm super pleased about that. And yeah, did I mention that it's brand new? And there are copies. I'm just going to read the first poem from the book. 1. Alice knows anything can happen when you start drinking in the afternoon. She began days ago when the grey rustle of the season settled like dirty sheets along the street. Now she's leaning against a giant bur oak at the edge of the park when all of a sudden she's falling, dropping, slipping into a dream. Somehow she's landed in a heap, purse missing, phone cracked, no use at all. She pops a pill, and when she opens her eyes, a band strolls by. Alice can't be sure, but it looks like the bassist is walking an orange cat with the widest mouth she's ever seen. She's about to follow when white-gloved fingers circle the tree trunk, tightening around the daisy chain tattoo on her left wrist. We're late. Come on, Alice. So I have just a final poem, but before I read it, I just really do want to give a proper thank you. I know firsthand how much work goes into putting this festival together, and I'm just so grateful. Like, thank you to the whole Versefest, Vers Ottawa committee and board, and the volunteers and everybody that has worked so hard to make this possible. Like, it's really, really incredible. And thank you to Jim at Perfect Books, who's the bookseller tonight, and to the amazing Kanye, who's at the front with us tonight, and who's their fantastic events coordinator. So please support us and support them by buying our books. Thank you to Jessica and Em. It's an honor to read beside you. I suppose it's a weird thing to say because I ended up being first. I thought if I was last, it would make more sense, but it's still a great honor. And thank you again to Stephen for the introduction. And Rob, thank you again, wherever you are. But mostly, thank you to all of you for being here tonight. Like, it means more than anything. This last poem is still my favorite love poem that I've written, and it is for my husband, my partner, my best friend. In this, we find ourselves. As summer turns her back, buttoning her coat to meet fall, we escape to our cottage in the woods at the top of a lane. A recent illness has slowed your pace, shrunk your bones, so your shadow now dawdles, falling a step or two behind. While you convalesce, gathered in blankets that hem you to the porch, I spend long hours wondering, breathing the trees. No longer a lost babe, I have learned these woods and the years that grow around us. My hair, piled into a messy bun, invites feathers and grasses to poke through its stray white strands, a nest fit for starlings to rest in. I collect twigs and pebbles and frayed birch bark, as pale as oysters. Small treasures to set around our table. I fashion teacups from acorn caps, crochet bowls from half-bloomed clusters of Queen Anne's lace. Imagine them filled with fresh-picked blueberries and clouds of cream. These are some of the things that will keep you well. The way the light warms your shoulder, how patience and tenderness hand clasp around who we have become. The trees that hid our lovemaking when our children were young shake rain-bruised leaves, catch the wind in song, 1,000 tinkling tambourines. At dusk, we make friends with a wild rabbit, eat gingerbread dipped in milky tea. And when we took ourselves in for the night, the moon slips through a slit in the curtain, silvering a trail of scattered breadcrumbs leading to our door. Thank you.